Namaskar, Ram Ram. Welcome to the results of the Australian Hindus 2024 survey. On this page, I've set out the basic matters that were contained in the survey. The survey was conducted between a certain period. Respondents were required to provide verification of their identity, etc. The survey contained a number of compulsory questions and some optional questions. And the final part of the survey asked respondents to identify any other issues that were important to them as Australian Hindus. Now, there were 1,056 responses. The largest number, as you can see, came from Victoria, the second largest from New South Wales, which are the two big states where Hindus reside. A very big number from Queensland, 16.4%. And Western Australia also had a very large response, 11.4%. The other states and territories had smaller numbers, reflecting perhaps the lesser number of Hindus that reside there. However, South Australia has a very fast-growing Hindu population, and hopefully in the future, Hindus in South Australia will contribute more to surveys such as this. The first question, substantive question, was whether Diwali should be declared a public holiday in Australia. And as you can see there, an overwhelmingly 9 out of 10 respondents agreed that Diwali should be declared a public holiday in Australia, reflecting the importance that that festival has for Hindus. Then the next question, or the next few questions, related to the ABC, which has been in the news in controversy recently. And the question that was asked is, how well does the ABC report on news and information relating to Hindus? The responses would be quite alarming. If you're sitting in the shoes of the ABC, the responses must send alarm bells ringing. A total of 78.2% of respondents found the ABC to be poor or very poor. That is a huge number. If you look at it the other way around, a mere 6.4% found the ABC to be good or excellent. So that is what Hindus think of the ABC, and it's a wide sample, a large sample, a nationwide sample of over 1,000 Hindus. The next question was whether, if you had made a complaint about the ABC, whether you were satisfied. Again, the response was very negative. I think the figure is 86%. 86% of respondents who complained to the ABC about the ABC, whether to its ombudsman or elsewhere, were either unsatisfied or very unsatisfied. So the message we get from there is, not only is the ABC not conveying news and information about Hindus objectively and fairly, when Hindus complain to them, the response of the ABC is totally unsatisfactory, and that is what the vast majority of Hindus believe. The next question was whether you believe that an independent ombudsman should be appointed to the ABC, and not surprisingly, well over 81% of respondents said there needs to be an independent ombudsman to be appointed for the ABC. And if you look at it the other way around, a mere 2.6% of respondents were against the notion of an ombudsman being appointed for the ABC. Then we go to SBS. Can you mute, please? Then we go to SBS. And the response was, again, very poor. About 59% of respondents found the ABC to be poor or very poor. Now, relative to the ABC, this might look like a good number, but if you look at it on its own, it's a very poor number. Again, only about 11.2% of Hindus found the work of the ABC excellent or good. Complaints to the ABC, again, a very high level of dissatisfaction. About 75% of persons who complained to the SBS about the SBS were either unsatisfied or very unsatisfied. The next question that was asked was whether representatives of the Hindu community be appointed, or should be appointed to boards of entities such as ABC and SBS. Unsurprisingly, a very high number of Hindus said, 86.6% said, that we need to have our representatives on the board, because not only is news about us not being portrayed properly, not only are complaints that we make taken into account properly, we have no other recourse. The only other recourse is to have some kind of say in the decision-making of these entities. Then the next topic that was asked about was the issue of halal. And as you're aware, there are a large number of products where they are certified as halal. And they include non-meat items such as rice or flour, even cosmetics. So the question was asked whether they should be, purchasers should have a choice. If there is a halal product, whether there should be a choice available for persons who may not wish to consume halal products. And the answer was very high. 83.2% believe consumers should have a choice, and a mere 3.9% disagreed with the proposition. Related to that is the issue of labeling and certification of products as sattvic or suitable to Hindus. Now, you would have heard in the news recently of reports of for example, there was an apple juice where it was found that it had beef and alcohol as part of its manufacturing process, but that was not in the label because it was at the early stage of the manufacturing, and the manufacturers were not required to put it in their labels. Another example is yogurt, which had gelatin, which contained beef, and a large number of gelatin products contain beef. So the question was asked whether there should be some labeling, be it for non-vegetarian, non-beef, or some kind of labeling to show that. And again, a very high number of respondents agreed. 88.4% said there should be some kind of labeling or certification of such products. Another topic that was asked about and affects a lot of Hindus is whether the government should make it easier for overseas-based aged parents to come and remain in Australia. And a very, very high number of respondents wanted the rules to be less strict, 91.2%. and a very small number, 2.4%, disagreed with this proposition. Also on the issue of immigration, a question was asked whether there should be a quota for humanitarian visas for Hindu refugees from countries such as Pakistan and Bangladesh. And as many of you know, there is a widespread persecution of Hindus in countries like Pakistan. A very large number of respondents agreed, 85.8% agreed, and 5.2% disagreed. A question was asked about laws for vilification and discrimination on the grounds of religion. Again, a very high number agreed, almost 90%, and a very small 3.5% disagreed. Then, as to the last question, this page contains a summary of the answers that were most common. There were many answers in the survey about other matters, but this list shows answers which were given multiple times by different respondents. So the first one is a fairly obvious one, that this topic is not that vogue at the moment, but about a year ago, the issue of Khalistani terror in Australia was a huge issue. So the first one was stop the import of Khalistani terror into Australia. And the kind of language that was used was that we don't want to become another Canada. So the Khalistan issue, apart from all the other issues that were in the survey, weighs heavily in the minds of Australian Hindus. The other, the next common response was the introduction of Hindi as an option in the school curriculum of primary and high schools. Now, there were answers about other languages, such as Sanskrit or other indigenous languages, but the most common demand was that there should be an option for the study of Hindi, both in primary and high schools. The third one was redressing the imbalance in representation of Hindus in parliament and other decision-making bodies. As you know, there is not a single Hindu in any lower house of parliament currently in the states or in the federal parliament. The fourth issue that was raised was the need to raise awareness about and take action against love jihad and attempts to convert Hindus. News is coming through, trickling through about, particularly in schools, that attempts are being made to convert Hindu girls or Hindu students to another faith. And these responses reflect those concerns. The next one is self-explanatory, the teaching of Hinduism in schools. Real action against vandalization of Hindu temples. You will recall that last year, there was a spate of attacks by Khalistanis on Hindu temples, and there was not a single prosecution. And these responses reflect the dissatisfaction about that state of affairs. The next is the education of media, police, politicians, etc., about Hindu practices and symbols such as the swastika. Ensure accurate and balanced content about Hinduism in India in schools, tertiary institutions, and media. So there were various answers, and some said schools, some said universities, some said media, some said all of them. So this encapsulates what Hindus are thinking and saying about how they are portrayed in the media and in educational institutions. Some responses sought government funding and support for Hindu schools. Some sought support for Hindu crematoriums. Another matter that was raised on a number of occasions was the need for transparency, fairness, and equity in the awarding of multicultural grants. And Victorial multicultural grants in particular was identified as a serial offender of not allocating grants properly. That was the views expressed in the survey. Another request was for government funding and support for aged care facilities designed for Hindus. Another common matter raised was the banning of the carrying of weapons in public places. You will recall that the Australian Hindu Association started a petition about this issue, where persons from a certain community were using ceremonial weapons to intimidate people and on some occasions actually assault and hurt people. That petition garnered more than 12,000 signatures, and the responses in the petition reflect that that issue still stays in the minds of Hindus as a pressing concern. The second last matter was that Hindu priests be given better opportunities to come and practice in Australia. And the last one was to allow Hindus more access to rivers and seas to carry out Hindu rituals. So then on the last page, I've summarized the matters there, and they're fairly straightforward. It's clear that Hindus have strong views about each of the matters that are raised in the questions, and they also have strong views on a number of other matters. In due course, the results of this survey will be provided to each member of parliament, to the media, and will be shared in social media and other forums. Thank you.